Hey, welcome back to Project Addiction. Today we're doing a brake job on, what is this, a Gen 3? Third gen 4runner. So we got Andre back in the shop again, and Andre's never actually done a brake job. So I'm just gonna guide him through it, and you get to watch him struggle.
No struggle today, I hope.
So the reason we're doing brakes on this is the right side brakes have been hanging up. And every time he put his hand by the wheel, that right side rim would be smoking hot. So that's a pretty good indication that that caliper is likely hanging up. And now that we have it in the air, try to spin that by hand and it doesn't move at all. The right thing to do is replace both sides. You never want to do just one side. It might be a little bit cheaper, but you do that and chances are the other side is going to go right after. So first thing we're going to get him to do is remove the caliper, remove the lines, and then we'll get the rotor off.
Now you usually pinch them somewhere, or?
So before Andre removes the line, he's gonna pinch off the soft line gently, with a pair of vice grips. There are proper tools for this, but I don't own them. So we'll just use a small pair of vice grips and just place it on the line to stop it from leaking. Now the vice grips are on there, you can go ahead and remove the brake line itself. You'll notice that the wrench that Andre has in his hand is actually not just a regular open-end wrench. So that's called a flare nut wrench, and that is specifically for a flare nut, and that is the type of nut that has a line going in through the middle. If you try to use a regular open-end wrench, chances are you're going to strip out that nut, and well, then you're trying to use a vice grip or something to take the thing apart. So a flare nut wrench obviously makes your life a lot easier. Alright, so now it's got the line off, you can go ahead and take the caliper off. And on this vehicle, it's just two 17mm mounting bolts on the bracket here.
Well, I think we need a breaker for this.
Time for a bigger gun. Alright, so those are on there real good. Now if you run into this problem, there's a few things that you can try before you have to go to a breaker bar. So first thing you'll notice is as Andre was holding the gun on there, the whole thing was shaking in his hand. Now that little bit of shaking movement is taking power from rotational and moving it into the shake. What I want you to do next time is hold the gun steady as possible, don't let it shake, and we're gonna change the socket to a stubby socket. The shorter the socket, the more torque you end up on the bolt.
Here we go.
Okay, so the technique worked for one, but top wall's still being stubborn. So what we're gonna do now is we've let the compressor kick in. We're gonna let it cycle right up to max PSI, and then he's gonna give it another go.
Is the building right now, or? Ah.
It looks like he had the direction selector slightly pushed, so we're gonna have to do it again. So I'm gonna let a little bit of air out, let that compressor kick in again, and we're actually gonna switch over to a different airline as well, because he's on the smallest airline I have right now. If you limit the CFM, you limit the power. So we're gonna put a slightly bigger airline on it, try to get as much kick out of this gun as possible. If that doesn't work, then we're gonna have to go to the breaker bar. All right, so we've bumped the pressure up to the max that the shop will do. Larger diameter line, and this time do you have the gun set properly?
Yes. Okay. I was afraid that it's gonna fall off, but probably not.
So now we can either let him fight with it like this, or I can tell him to use a pry bar to take that off. The one that I already brought over for him. That's sitting right here.
Oh nice, this wasn't seized.
So if your rotor doesn't come off, you gotta get a little bit medieval with the thing. Get a hammer out and start hammering, it'll come off eventually.
What the hell? Yeah, this one was seized as hell. It doesn't want to leave.
Oh, well, that's one way to do it. Okay, now he's got everything off. It's just a matter of cleaning up all of the rust and any debris that's on the hub surface.
Okay, that's done.
So you don't have to put the anti-seize on there, but it's just a nice thing to do. It helps prevent the rotor from getting stuck, and that way, next time they have to come off, chances are you won't need to use a hammer. But before he puts the rotor on that he's putting on right now,
Oops.
this is also a really good time to check your front hubs, and that's why we've removed both sides, calipers, rotors, and we just have the hubs open. When you have big off-road tires in the vehicle, sometimes it's very hard to hear if you actually have a wheel bearing problem just because of the amount of tire noise. When you're in this state here, you can just spin the hub and have a listen. And that one sounds pretty good. Check the other side the same way. If you want to check it a little bit more thoroughly, you can use a stethoscope, or if you don't have a stethoscope, use a socket extension, place your thumb over the end of it, and then press your finger up to your ear. And it'll actually work exactly the same as a stethoscope. So when rotors are manufactured, quite often there's a release agent on it. I know I could have told him before, but it's far more amusing to do it this way. So that release agent needs to be cleaned off. So he needs to spray that rotor down with some brake clean and wipe it off with a rag. So before installing them, you want to make sure that you have the correct side. Now, the Toyota ones are marked left and right on the front face here.
Yeah, this is left.
There's a marking here. But if it doesn't have this, the other way that you can check is to actually look at the bleeder. The bleeder valve should always face up. Okay, so he's got the rotor on, caliper on, and now it's time for the pads. Now the pads are actually all different. There's an inner pad, outer pad, and right and left. So if you look closely at each of these pads, you'll notice one side has tabs on the inside and one has it on the outside. And what these actually are your brake squealers. And this indicates when your pads are wearing down, it'll make that horrible, screechy, squealing sound that sometimes you hear vehicles driving by making. The pad with the two squealers goes on the inside, and the pad with the single squealer goes on the outside. That squealer should be facing down in the direction of rotation. If the rotor is rotating this way, you should be pulling the squealer downwards with it. If you put them on the other way, they're not very effective. Quite often they won't make any noise at all. So make sure you orientate them correctly. The only other thing he needs to do before installing them is to remove these pins, and he can do that by using a pair of pliers here, twisting and pulling out. And then we're going to put a little bit of silicone lubricant on the caliper itself where the pads meet, just to help prevent any kind of friction or seizing up of the pads down the road.
I hate silence. It's so silent here.
Don't forget to put that lock pin back in. If these slides come out, your whole pad can come out. Now all that's left is to bleed the front brakes. So Andre's already popped the hood, taken the cap off the brake reservoir. We have plenty of fluid in there. So we're just going to open up the bleeders and let gravity do the job for us for the beginning. Lefty loosey, righty tighty. So once we start to see brake fluid coming out, we'll tighten that up and do a proper bleed with the brake pedal. So once the gravity bleed has done its thing and the fluid is starting to drip out, that means we've at least filled up the calipers with brake fluid. So now we'll go about doing the proper bleed with the brake pedal, actually adding some pressure to the system. So we're gonna start on the passenger side, which is the farthest away from the brake master, and then we'll move over to the driver's side. Okay, so we got Andre in the driver's seat, and I'm gonna work the bleeders. Now all we're gonna do is Andre's gonna put his foot down to the floor, hold it there, we'll crack the bleeder, and then close it again before the fluid stops coming out. Okay, lift and floor. Again. 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 Okay. Now that we're satisfied we've got all of the air out of the passenger side, move over to the driver's side and repeat the process. Okay, so we got no more air coming out of the calipers now. So all Andrej needs to do is push down on the pedal and just make sure it feels nice and solid. If there's any sponginess to it, we'll go back and bleed them one more time. Otherwise, if it's solid, we'll put the wheels back on and he can take it out for a test drive.
Oh, finally done, almost done.
And then of course, we need to torque the wheels down. Now you can use a torque wrench, or if you're using an impact gun, make sure you use a torque stick. And that's it. Andrej's done his first brake job.
Finally, I will know how to do it.
So it's a nice simple job, not something that you actually need to be scared of. So if you're looking at trying to do this at home, it is a very, very doable job to do in your own driveway or in your own garage. Just dig in, there's not a lot to it, don't be afraid. Anyways, if you like today's video, hit like and subscribe. Otherwise, get in the shop and do something. We'll see you next time.
Next time.
So we're gonna start on the passenger side, which is the farthest away. No, we're not. That's a freaking lie. We're gonna start on the driver's side. No, this is a left-hand drive. So we are gonna